Hi, Miles of Sanity 602 reporting to you at the Nightmare Central with um with day number 14's review of my 31 days of horror film reviews, annual 31 days of horror film reviews, year number 4. And in this video here, we're going to be capping off the Hellraiser franchise with a review of Hellraiser Hellworld, which is a 2005 R-rated 91-minute horror film from director Rick Boda. Now, this goes without saying. I think both Hellworld and Deader were filmed back to back with one another, and I think Hell Deader was a shall I say, shall I say, shall I say, I think a Romanian shoot. A lot of film, direct-to-video sequels around that time were filmed in Romania or Bulgaria, because I think they have like shorter shoots, even South Africa, around like the mid 2000s. And I don't know if most likely it doesn't feel like it's an American place. The whole entire Hellraiser Hellworld plot doesn't really seem like it's in a American location. Um, anyways, anyways, Hellraiser Hellworld is the final entry of the franchise to be, to have Doug Bradley as Pinhead. Hopefully he returns. And hopefully I don't know if it was an act. This is an actual thing that's going to happen, but it's been rumored for many years. I hope it's true. That Clive Barker and Doug Bradley Clive Barker returns to the franchise, and Doug Bradley returns as Pinhead, and those two reboot the whole franchise, and fresh, start fresh, because I heard that they have a lot of clever ideas, and I would love to see a Hellraiser reboot. Don't get me wrong, I love the original Hellraiser franchise, but it's too messy. It's too messy to it doesn't really have a clean cut structured universe to really, say, bam, that's a great, we gotta make sure that sucker continues on. Unlike Halloween's probably the only original series franchise that out of the horror genre that needs to have a return in a sequel to Halloween Resurrection, because that universe is a little bit more tighter, in my opinion. I think a lot of people confuse H2O for fucking up the storyline with Curse of Michael Myers, but I don't really. I think that's just a continuation. I even count Halloween 3 in that universe. Um, but Hellraiser, the original Hellraiser franchise, is a bit messy. So we get to the final one, and this one is like just like my first video of this series with Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, and maybe a later season review, New Nightmare, where this is the one that takes place outside the canon. So basically, the first seven, and questionably this film exist in the same universe. This one, on the other hand, treats the whole entire Hellraiser franchise as if it's a cheap movie franchise that spawned off this game called Hellworld. And basically the film is about these group of kids who got obsessed with a video game, got super obsessed with a video game, and it took over their lives. One friend committed suicide during the whole entire game process. It took over, and basically somehow they got invited to a house, a nice fucking place, by the way. That place looks really fucking nice. So yeah, they go to the this Hell World party. They get invitations, and basically the main girl, played by Catherine Winnick, her dialogue is brain number. Basically, whenever Catherine Winnick is on screen, her dialogue and her whole entire body language exudes a big fuck you to the Hellraiser fan base. And I am a part of the Hellraiser fan base, and this whole entire film has, the typical scream, pompous, pretentious douchebag dialogue. But with the Hellraiser franchise, this isn't the slasher genre like Scream did. It's just all around pompous and pretentious bullshit. That's basically the writers just looking up at you, looking down upon the Hellraiser fan base that is gonna pay to see this movie because it's a Hellraiser movie. They basically it has like looking down at the Hellraiser fan base dialogue and with her character, and then they made these four friends. We've got annoying girl over there, annoying girl over there. They're all stock. Generic 80s. Well, generic, not 80s, but all round any decade of slasher film. This is pretty much the most generic level of characters. Gone are the days when we had actually, not stupid, dumb teenagers. Maybe Christy Conn in Hellraiser and her boyfriend, and possibly the first two films. Possibly, questionably, may have a teenage, or not. I'm not actually thinking about it. They're not really teenagers. Besides, maybe the blonde, the second female girl with the blonde hair, who's also another protagonist in Hellbound Hellraiser 2. Maybe she's in her teens, but for the most part, those were adult characters. Hellraiser 3 had adult characters dealing with adult scenario. Bloodline, with silliness in space, at least had a mature character that fits in well with the serious tone of a Hellraiser film. We get 5 and 6 and 7, which all three had flawed characters, but they were interesting. They had their own little quirks. Even Dean Winters in Hellseeker has enough things to differentiate between Craig Sheffer and Inferno. There's enough there to diversify. They all have their little similar things, but for the most part, they were compelling and interesting leads of this particular Hellraiser film. And they seemed like they had a proper level of maturity and maturity and interest to properly blend in with the Hellraiser universe. So, and understand that somebody may use this argument, but this is not a part of the Hellraiser universe. This is part of some nonsensical side universe that's whatever. But the problem is that it's still part of the Hellraiser franchise, and all these characters are not they're the furthest thing from Craig Sheffer in Inferno. They're just the furthest thing from any of these intriguing characters, and they're just stock slasher victims. If you watch like fucking Friday 13 Part 7 with its horrible writing, and that's the Carrie movie, that's the Jason movie with Jason fighting a Carrie girl. If you look at all those characters that are just horrible body count characters, you'll get the same thing with these. So we meet up with Man of Steel, Superman's Henry Cavill, which is just a horny douche who goes on his side of the story, which he's just a horny douche trying to get into some girl's pants in one portion, cheating on his girlfriend Catherine Winnick. But when we actually got to meet his character, it was like the most silliest thing. We got this build up of this great tension, but we realized that he wasn't actually a Cenobite. He was just a person with a mask, and then we get this terrible sound effect, like boom. It's like Last House on the Left and even Halloween 5 level of sound, inappropriate sound quality, except for not with cops, but with a fucking kid. Then we meet up with all this angsty kid, which if he was a little bit more older and had a little bit more of a darker edge to him, it wasn't all angsty, wasn't all like, oh, I'm gonna cut myself, emo level of bland, then maybe I could see him fitting in with the Hellraiser universe a little bit better. But the others, we got Kari Payne. Oh my God, just like, yeah, he was just, token black guy in this film, and we got one great actor in this movie with Lance Hendrickson. He was good. Played Bishop in the Alien movies. He was a shining light. He's usually good in any movie he's in, but this one he was pretty good. He was decent. But other than that, really, there's nothing much to the film. So we got him. He's a shining light in the film. So we meet up with these. We get to see them do their stupidest thing. When Carrie Payne's character dies, it's a hallucination. It's basically a hallucination of Pinhead chopping off his head, and it's just like that's the most fucking lamest Pinhead kill ever. No talk about misery, suffering. The typical Pinhead norms, where it's really deep about the character's downfall and basically saying about the misery and stuff. No, it's not about that anymore. It's just a silent meat cleaver to the head. And that was pretty shitty. Doug Bradley does a really good job in this movie. I give Doug Bradley a plus. He's also good. He's the second best thing about this film. We get fucking horrible Catherine Winnick kick to Lance Hendrickson and her kind of confrontation with him there. Then we get to just see the story, and we realize that um, Lance's character was just the father of the kid that committed suicide because the Hellworld game took over his life, and basically dominated the whole ordeal. We get to realize that he is basically he drugged these people in ridiculous ways, and after he drugs these people, we get to see we get a ghost reference, and I'm like, if we seriously talking about this movie, but this all the supernatural stuff in this movie, all the supernatural stuff in this movie was fake and all, but by via drug hallucinations, but yet you had like a reference to the thing, ghost thing, and then when actual Pinhead comes up, and and by the guy opening the box, I'm like, wait a second. So, so the whole entire Pinhead we've seen earlier was just a drug hallucination via the characters, but Pinhead all of a sudden kills this guy, well, one of his goons, and the most Pinhead. It's funny that the most authentic to the Pinhead character scene is the most illogical scene with Pinhead in this whole entire film, because didn't they say that the Pinhead films and the Pinhead character was a film and a film franchise in this universe of this film? Was overall confusing. Overall, this film feels really sloppy, really sloppy. It feels. I like that it has a few interesting concepts via the drugging and stuff, but this the first seven, understand, got the silliness of Bloodline with space, but that felt a little bit more organic to the plot. We had few unintentionally stupid things in three. Three basically Hellraiser 3 treated Pinhead like a supreme ultimate slasher villain. By technicality, Pinhead still is a slasher villain, but they treated Pinhead like a slasher icon in that film, and they but the film was all around a Hellraiser movie. This one feels like Pinhead entered a slasher movie, and a poorly done one. Um, Hellraiser Hellworld is just not a very good movie. It feels very sloppy. It feels very disrespectful to the Hellraiser fan base with its dialogue. Its dialogue is just over the top, talking down to the fan base. I'm part of the Hellraiser fan base, and I do not appreciate me, a person who puts a lot of love, who has a very huge passion and appreciation for the first seven Hellraiser movies to various different degrees. I don't appreciate being talked down to when I am the person who pays your fucking pays for your meal ticket by buying the Blu-rays, and you talking down to me, talking down to the whole fan base is just only going to give me a major fuck you. And I feel personally insulted by this movie. I think that it's horribly written, horribly written. It 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 really is just not a very good movie. But overall, it still has a craft to it, a craft to it that makes it barely appreciable film in the franchise. It at least doesn't it at least isn't sloppily made, but it's just poorly written. Um, I like it a little bit more than this one, which we're going to talk about. I'm just going to finish the Hellraiser franchise with this one. We get Hellraiser Revelations, which came out 6 years after Hellworld, and this film was basically at a time when Dimension Films was getting their license contract with the Hellraiser characters was almost about to seize up, and they were saying, we got to keep the fucking franchise. We got to keep the fucking franchise. So let's whip up this movie that we just shot in a weekend. With a port, I think it was like a weekend with like 25 or $30,000 budget, $25 or $30,000 budget, somewhere in that range. I do not know. That's my general guess. And they shot it on the weekend, and done a poorly job. And you can really tell because this one's 75 minutes long, barely even a legit film length. It looks like it's poor enough. It's poor enough to look like a fan. It's poor enough to make it look like an unofficial fan-made production. It's that pretty bad. It's that bad. Hellraiser Revelations. One thing applaudable about it, but it's not. But it's a plus. It's a plus that automatically gets taken away due to the greediest intent by the filmmakers and the distributor of this film. The distributor of this film is to say, let's make a Hellraiser movie. This is the first time since Bloodline this actually had a Hellraiser movie that actually was supposed to be a Hellraiser movie. But unlike Bloodline and the first four in the franchise, it seemed like they actually had an idea and they weren't like, oh, let's just keep the rights. So sloppily, so carelessly, and so unenthusiastically disinterested in the whole entire process as this movie is. This movie's it's one of the movies that you could tell that the people were disinterested in it. The performances are bland. They make the characters in Hellworld look like fucking like Nancy or Laurie Strode. They're that bad. There's a few interesting ideas. Like any Hellraiser film, or any film in like major horror franchises that I like. Any major horror franchise that I like. There's a few redeemable qualities that I could pick out. I like some of the plot content of the body switching with one of the characters, but that's been done before in the original Hellraiser. And they also brought the hobo that I think appeared in 6 a little bit. I don't know. They brought the hobo. Also, that's pretty much it. The characters are just awful, and the person who I think who dons the new skin of this guy, man, he's like claws on a chalkboard. Bad. Is that bad. All in all, I really do not. I do not like Hellraiser Hellworld. This is the worst out of the franchise. It's the worst out of the franchise, if you ask me. And the makeup is beyond insulting. Like, look at that, man. You look at look at the Pinhead and like there. Oh my God, that's fucking great. The Pinhead you see in the Part 4 cover in this case is great. But you see this Pinhead and it's like, oh my God, this is like some cheap cosplay version of Pinhead. Um, uh, 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 yeah, there isn't really much to compliment. So we're done with the Hellraiser franchise of my fourth annual 31 Days of Horror Film Reviews. And since this is day 14, that means that we have about I say about 17 more reviews to go. And yeah, but let's get to the Blu-ray releases. The Blu-ray releases. Hellraiser Hellworld is the final film in this four film set. Overall, the picture quality looks pretty good. It looks like Echo Bridge did the most amount of effort with the subpar sequel to the Hellraiser franchise. Um, and here's the disc. The menu, and all in all, it seems like they gave Inferno the shaft. They gave Inferno the shaft, while they gave the others pretty much the deluxe treatment with this set. And it's sad because Inferno is my favorite of the whole franchise. I could go on for days about how much I love Inferno. Um, Inferno. And the Blu-ray release of this, it's like came out like 4 years ago. This film, 4 years ago, and since it's a 4-year-old film, and since it probably was shot on like a handy cam that a hand can that film shit with, and it looks pristine. But that goes with the poor the film staging that this film went in, and there's the disc. I really, if this wasn't, and they've got a sucker in me. The people who make these Hellraiser movies certainly got a sucker out of me, because if it wasn't for the Hellraiser name, I probably wouldn't have picked this up. But since I'm a Hellraiser completist, and since I love the Hellraiser franchise, I got it. And since it was fucking cheap, I got it. But if it, yeah, I feel kind of ashamed to have this in the collection. Overall, the first 7 Hellraiser movies are great in my opinion. I love the first 7. The first 7 are great. Got the first four that make a nice constructive narrative with the Hellraiser franchise, and then you get 5, which is a nice mix the Pinhead character into a nice little ambiguous moral crypt keeper who keeps a close eye on his immoral tenants, immoral people on the earth. And it's understand 5 through 8 are the ones that are repurposed scripts, but I feel like they've done it minus Hellworld, minus this piece of shit called Hellworld. 5 through 7 do a great enough job at providing respect to the source material. Inferno's obviously the best. Hellseeker is a little bit of a lamer version of Inferno, but still is pretty good. I like that it returns Christy Cotton to the character, to the franchise. Then you get Deader, which they skipped 6, and they jumped from 6 to 7, 6 to 8 in this set. Had to get 7 solo. 7 is my second favorite of the franchise. Deader, borrowing its stupid, silly title, Deader's a silly title, but setting aside that silly title, Deader pretty much fucking rocks. I love Deader. Part 7 is a great movie. Very much a really good movie. But the last two fuck Hellworld, and most importantly, fuck Revelations. They're insults to the Hellraiser name, and the Hellraiser name is a name that deserves more great credibility. I think the Hellraiser franchise in the first 7, barring the shitty last 2, is, in my opinion, the first 7 Hellraiser movies as a franchise, seriously, in my opinion, outbeat the Friday the 13th films by miles. They're better movies in my opinion. They have a consistent. Sure, they have their problems, but I like the story better. I like the films better than many of the Friday the 13th films, which are junk in my opinion. I like the Friday the 13th films, but they're terrible movies. They're terrible movies. Um, all of them are actually. They're not very good movies. All of them are terrible movies, but there's some that you can have fun with. Halloween movies. It's not as good as the Halloween movies because the Halloween movies are a little bit better in my opinion. Sure, there's some silly ones like Six, but Six is the only one that's kind of silly of the original 8. Similar to Hellraiser, the last 2 sucked, and now with Halloween, the Rob Zombie ones are the only ones that suck. The original 8 are good. With Nightmare on Elm Street, I love all 9 of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I think that they all rock. Don't have no problems. I don't say, oh, that's goofy. In my opinion, I like all 9 Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But that and Psycho are the only ones I feel are perfect. The other franchises, as much as I love them, I love Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, fuck Screamin' Saw, those are pieces of shit. Fuck Leprechaun, fuck Chucky, Child's Play, fuck The Howling. Some of the Children of the Corn films are good. I might even do the Children of the Corn franchise for the year number 5. I don't know. But for the most part, you could, yeah. But I'm derailing. Anyways, this has been day number 14 of my 31 days of horror film reviews, and I shall be back in a little less than 24 hours with day number 15's review. Anyways, I hope that you give this video a like. I hope that you subscribe, and I hope that you like the other 13 that came before it, and I hope that you enjoy the other 17 that will come after it, after this one. Anyways, see you later, and this has been the last of the Hellraiser reviews. The rest are just going to be fun whatever shit I have planned. Anyways, bye.